Welcome to Saturday School. How are you? How was your week? Well, I trust your week was well. I'm not going to say I hope because I've been trying so hard this year to get that word out of my vocabulary. Again, like I've said before, I don't. Maybe you've seen the video where I said this before. I don't know, but the word hope gives the insinuation that things happen by chance, that there's coincidence. I personally do not believe in coincidence. So I don't hope anything because to me, there's no room for coincidence. There's no chance. Everything happens for a reason. Okay. So I do not hope that you had a good week. I know, I declare and decree that you had a good week. The fact that you're watching this and you're still breathing, you had a good week. Whether it was a bad week or not, you're still here. It was a good week. All right. But this is Saturday School. Welcome, welcome in, welcome in. This Saturday School, I've actually had this lesson for since August 23rd, okay? But other downloads and things that I was getting from Spirit, I was being guided to do those Saturday School episodes first. Like the last two Saturday School episodes I dropped, okay? I was guided to do those first. Now I'm being guided to do this one. So this Saturday School episode, I guess, lesson is about the ego and how to turn down your ego, okay? Now the reason why it's from August, it was an article I wrote in my newsletter, the Hood Herald newsletter that I do every month for the free on Patreon. If you are interested in subscribing to the Hood Herald newsletter, it's basically a spiritual newsletter. Every month I talk about 3 different subjects. There's a word of the month. There's also so you like to learn tarot, and I give the description of a tarot card every month as well. But it has a lot of spiritual stuff, like information you might want to learn about, stuff you may not know, stuff you may already know, but it's free, okay? Now, if you're interested in this, I can't put the link on TikTok if you're watching this on TikTok, but my YouTube channel link is in my on my profile. If you click my YouTube channel link, on my YouTube channel, there is a link to my Patreon. You can go on my Patreon, and like I said, you can become a free member to get access to the Hood Herald newsletter, okay? But anyway, this Saturday School episode is about turning down the ego, turning down your ego. And I will be reading from the article, okay? So it is what it is. I wrote it, still my... So yeah, let's get into turning down the ego. Now, ego and love, I don't know if I said that clearly enough for you to understand what I said. It sounded like I said ego and love. Ego and love cannot coexist together. It's not possible, okay? Whew. Okay, what was that about? Weird deep breath. I don't know if you caught that. But anyway, ego and love cannot coexist. It's not possible, okay? The only way ego and love can coexist is if the ego is turned down, literally, okay? So when I talk about turning down the ego, I'm talking about, how do I say this? Let me just read the article. I'll just read the article and then I'll go over whatever else I'm given to say, okay? So turning down the ego. Ego is the part of us that has the hardest time being tamed. Ego is our human defense mechanism, but sometimes too much of it becomes more of a hindrance than a help, okay? So ways that ego can cause problems. Ego has a hard time with letting go of the past. Period, okay? So when ego gets bruised, it usually bounces back with an even more stubborn approach to things. So that's, excuse me. I'm hearing when harden not your heart. When the Bible speaks about hardening not your heart, it's talking about your ego. Your ego is connected to your heart, okay? So when something, a trauma, a bad thing, something that hurts happens, the ego gets bruised. The ego usually, like I said, comes back with an even more stubborn approach because now your heart is hardened. So say you were in a relationship and you got cheated on, you got hurt, okay? Your ego is bruised. So now your next relationship, you're going to be looking for this person to possibly do the same thing. You're going to be going about things different. You might be talking different, moving different, whatever, okay? That's because your ego is bruised, and now your ego has come back with an even more stubborn approach. It may not seem stubborn to you at the time because you're trying to protect your heart. You're trying to keep your ego also from getting bruised again too. But sometimes your ego being turned up too high can cause problems with the defenses, okay? You may be overly defensive, etc., because triggers basically because your ego has been bruised in the past, okay? So, like I was saying, ego, when it gets bruised, it usually comes back, bounces back with an even more stubborn approach to things, okay? Harden not your heart, though. Ego holds us back from love. This is why the Bible, this is why God, I just say God. It says it in the Bible, but God says harden not your heart. This is why. Ego holds us back from love. Ego keeps us trapped in unhealthy cycles. Why did I say it like that? Unhealthy cycle. My mouth wants to say psychos. Unhealthy psychosis, unhealthy illusions, okay? But it's supposed to say cycles. I don't know why I said cycle, but ego also, there was something I was going to say before that happened. Ego also creates fear. Fear holds us back from a lot of shit too, okay? Ego even keeps us from growing as a person and healing sometimes because we don't want to admit that we need to heal. We don't want to admit that something may be a little not in balance with us because admitting that admits that you're not perfect, and that goes against what the ego feels, right? Okay? So sometimes having an ego even keeps us from growing as a person and healing, okay? Now, a lot of spiritualists will say that you have to turn your ego off. I used to be one of those spiritualists. When I started my spiritual journey and I learned about the ego, I, for a while, thought that the answer was to turn your ego off. No. Once I started actually fighting spiritual warfare and things of that sort and dealing with energy vampires and manipulators and all that, then I understood, no, you do not need to turn your ego off. Your ego needs to be there. You need to turn it down, though. So let me explain. In the beginning stages of the spiritual journey, a lot of us tend to go through the phase of believing that ego off is the answer, okay? Then we learn about balance. We learn about opening our throat chakra and standing up for ourselves. And that's when we learn that the answer is actually to turn your ego down, not off. Let me explain. You need your ego to help you know your worth and defend yourself when people try to take advantage of you and your kindness, when people try to manipulate you, deceive you, abuse you, etc. You need your ego to help you defend yourself. If you don't have any ego at all whatsoever, you basically have no self-esteem, you have no confidence, you have no inner strength, you have no power. So if you turn your ego completely off, then people are able to do whatever the fuck to you because you don't even speak up and defend yourself because you have zero ego. You're not worried about it. You see what I'm saying? You have to have ego, but it has to be turned down. Now, you need your ego to help you set healthy boundaries with people, and you need your ego to learn about self-love and how to love yourself first. You absolutely need your ego. The goal is to turn your ego down so low that only you can hear it. It's like having your music playing out loud on your phone. You want to hear it, but you don't want everybody else to hear it. Or you want to hear it, but everybody else doesn't want to hear it, okay? You got to turn it down just low enough that you can hear it, but nobody else can hear it, okay? Now, you literally only need to turn your ego up under certain circumstances, okay? Everyone should not be able to hear your ego. And when I say hear, I also mean see, etc. Okay? No one should be able to see or hear your ego. Okay? When other people can hear your ego, when your ego is too loud, okay? When your ego is too loud, it triggers other people and causes those who still have bruising to their egos to try to turn theirs up louder than yours. And that's how conflict, fights, arguments, murders, wars, etc. all start. Good old ego. Okay? So, the key is to tame your ego and turn that sucker down so only you can hear it. Now, like I said, when someone tries you, when someone needs to be put in line, when you need to set a boundary, when you need to let someone know you're not going for their shit, you turn that motherfucking ego up and you defend yourself and you stand on your business. And after you're done standing on business and defending yourself, you turn your ego back down so only you can hear it. Do you understand? I hope you're understanding what I'm saying here. So, how to tame your ego? As I stated earlier, the ego is a part of us that is the hardest to tame. A lot of us have a hard time not reacting to every single thing, and that is your ego. Somewhere your ego got bruised and you feel as if you need to react negatively or defend yourself in every single situation or everything that happens, and that's not the case. Some things it's okay to let your ego sit in a motherfucking corner and just let it the fuck go. Other things, like I said, when people try to harm you, manipulate you, abuse you, use you, mistreat you, that's when you turn that fucking ego up and you let these people know you are not the 1, the 2, the 3, or the 4. You about to stand on the neck, might break the motherfucker if they continue, because you're not a fool. Do you understand? Okay. Now, once the ego is bruised, we have to actively do shadow work to heal it. Shadow work is the act of going within oneself and acknowledging wounds and traumas that occurred in your childhood, your adolescence, your early adulthood, and currently. Once you acknowledge the wounding and how it's negatively impacting your current life, mindset, and behaviors, you can do further shadow work to release the damage done and forgive yourself and your inner child for whatever occurred. Once you can begin healing and understanding that these bruises to your ego weren't your fault, your ego begins to heal and let down its defenses, okay? Then you are no longer hardening your heart. Because like I said, the ego, the heart, your confidence, all that shit is connected, okay? So once you begin to heal and let down, once you begin to heal your ego and your traumas and all that, your defenses will heal and start to let down, okay? Your ego will start to let down its defenses. You don't have to be defensive for every single person, every single situation, all the time. No, that's unhealthy, okay? Your ego then becomes a volume that only you can hear once you begin to heal these things, okay? You are no longer quick to argue or fight, bicker about anything and everything. You don't have the time and energy to be defensive about everything someone says or thinks about you, and you become free. You become a better version of yourself, and you are not afraid to grow because your ego is not holding you back. Your ego is not causing you to act out. Your ego is not being overprotective. Your ego is not being overprotective. When your ego is too loud, it's because it's overprotective. You're a little too defensive. You're a little too, I don't even know exactly okay, a little too into yourself, a little too defensive, a little too suspicious. It's a bunch of words I'm hearing because everybody's situation is different and everybody's ego gets bruised in different ways. So it's a bunch of different things I'm hearing. Regardless, you don't need to be or feel that way or need to be defensive and guarded for everything. Yes, you need to be guarded. Yes, you need to be on your defense, but you don't need to be defensive until you're given a true reason to be. And a lot of times our ego causes us to be defensive in situations where it's not even needed. But we feel it is because we think we see something that we've seen before, and then we get defensive, and it's just a whole hullabaloo. It's a whole hullabaloo, a whole mess, okay? So, again, the key is to turn your ego down to a volume that only you can hear it until you need to turn the volume up and let the music play. And because you're not going to let people get away with anything, okay? But I do hope that this, there I go, hope, no. I declare and decree that this message finds who it was meant for, and who it was meant for understands it to its entirety. I explained it and gave it the best way I can, and I did what I came to do. So 1818 on the timer. I'm going to go ahead and close this lesson here, and I may or may not see you next Saturday with another Saturday school. I don't know, I might take a break. We'll see. I may or may not see you next Saturday with another Saturday school lesson, but until then,